Welcome to the Minor Arcana in 20 minutes. I am going to kick off this series of 20-minute lessons by talking about the Minor Arcana. And I'm going to do a little example here of what we're about to learn. Get your notebook if you haven't yet. It starts with the Seven of Wands. Now, the Seven of Wands is about getting to a position that you feel you need to defend. That is the story of the card. The numerology is 7, which is about essentially paranoia in most cases, and what it's like to have to live in a reality where things are uncertain. That's a very 7 energy in the tarot. And then the wands are about actions and the use of our free will. So if I'm reading for you, I'm reading that this person has used their free will to gain this position on the card here, and they are having to defend their position. Now, is it true that they have to defend their position, or are they just paranoid? That's kind of the question. Every card is a question. Then we have the Two of Swords. Now, 2 is about duality. It is about this kind of black and white thinking in some cases, and that's why the Two of Swords feels that she only has 2 options. You're either going to go this way or you're going to go that way. Now, the question of this card is, are there really only 2 options, or do you just refuse to take off your blindfold, right? That's a very sword energy too, because swords are how we think, how we speak, and how we learn. So it's very easy in a sword card to say it's all in your head. You may have the illusion of 2 choices, or this may just be telling you that the this way or that way is torturing you. We love a sword card. And then here we have the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is about the friction, right? Because 5 is the card of friction and competition and the benefits of that, right? And when it's in wands, it's in our free will, our actions, our phallus, stuff like that. So when you're in 5 of Wands, what you're doing is you're leaning into competition in a healthy and safe way. You're leaning into setting goals for yourself that you will compare to the goals of others. A follower count, for example, a workout routine is a good example of that. Competition is healthy, and this is saying do not avoid conflict because it is good for you. So that's an example of how we're reading with the numbers and the suits. Let's find out how and why. Hello, welcome to class. Take out your notebook. I'm going to talk about how I wish I had learned to read tarot, knowing everything that I know now. And it's going to be a little quick and dirty. I think that you can read cards in under 20 minutes. However, I do believe that the best way to start when it comes to reading tarot is to give yourself readings and use the little book and read the interpretations, because memorization is a piece of it. But my invitation is to go beyond the memorization of the cards, mostly so that you can be using different decks, which is, I think, really valuable as we move away from some of the societal archetypes that exist in the Smith deck, which we'll talk about when we get to the face and court cards. But first, let's just talk about how to study. So if you are already kind of looking at the tarot and you're reading the definitions, you're doing a great job. However, as we learn in school, the initial information is not enough. Our brain needs more in order to solidify that information. Not only does our brain need more, our soul and our psyche need to understand how important it is to us. You can treat studying as spell work if it makes it more fun for you. But unfortunately, when it comes to magic, when it comes to things like the tarot and any other interpretive, even psychic technology that we work with, we do have to study. We cannot just listen to podcasts and then hope for the best. Your experience with the material is what is building the foundation for you as a reader. So take notes. So when you're doing your own readings, write them down. When you're watching videos like mine, take notes. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to take notes in my video because I am a Virgo. So for example, one of the things I'm learning is palmistry. I'm using visuals for that. And then I'll show you what I'm doing with my tarot right here is I go back and I review it and I decorate it. Boom, like that. You cannot get out of taking notes. I'm so sorry. That's why grimoires are such a rich magical tradition. Now, in the age of the internet, it may seem like typing is your vibe, and if you have a writing practice and you use a keyboard for that, I'm not going to stop you. All of that to say, it's not enough just to read. It's not enough just to practice. It's not enough just to write. It has to be the whole integral studying package. Many teachers have failed us by not giving us the ability and the skills to study. So if you haven't gotten it yet, there's the attention and care. Study. If you want to learn, you have to study. Now let's talk about what goes into a reading, the skills that you need to have in order to read cards. First, you can use symbolism and intuition. So when many people begin reading, you may hear people say, "Oh, I read intuitively," or "Oh, I look at the symbolism of the card." That's a great first step. And when you're doing these early readings for yourself, if you want to strengthen that muscle, you can put out a spread of cards, write down what you think they mean, and then verify it in the little book. That's a great way to practice symbolism and intuition. Symbolism and intuition is not enough to be a professional reader. Interpreting the arcana, the suit, and the numerology, this is a good baby step. Once you have mastered the arcana, the suit, and the numerology, I think you should feel comfortable, providing your readings as a service, in my opinion. If that's a goal for you. Also, tarot is an amazing practice for yourself, so there's no need to share. But our world is moving fast, and we need a lot of spiritual teachers and leaders and readers, and being psychic rules, but you don't have to be psychic to be a tarot reader. So when you're looking at the arcana, the suit, and the numerology, which I'm about to teach you about, you're giving a full interpretation of the card, and you can layer on the symbolism and the intuition. That includes checking in with your querent. You're not reading at them, you're reading with them, especially when you're first starting out, right? My channeling is definitely more on the psychic end of the spectrum at this point in my practice. So if I'm at an event, I'm definitely going to be talking to someone because I'm not meditating with that clear channel like I would be if I'm doing a reading at home and sending the video reading to someone, right? So there's different environments, which we could talk about at another time. And then getting to know the deck and the cards. So this, and I put it at the bottom for a reason. Memorizing the cards is not as important. Getting to know the deck and the cards is not as important. One, because you may be reading with different decks. So as you get into each deck, they have their own personalities. They have their own synchronicities. You'll start to get stalker cards. You'll start to notice, oh, when I'm giving a reading and the Page of Cups come out, then that means someone's cheating on them. Like, you just know that because it's happened so many times when you've been giving a reading, even though Page of Cups may not necessarily mean that. There's a kind of, it could be interpreted that way, but until you have it validated a couple times, you wouldn't necessarily read it that way. As you're getting to know the deck and the cards, and that story gets validated, now that is a new meaning for the card for you for that specific deck. Now let's talk about tarot numerology. There is a discipline of numerology that is not related to the tarot. We can talk about that later. What we're talking about now is essentially the sequence of the cards, what the numbers in the cards mean. So 1 through 10 in the minor arcana relates it to 1 through 10 in the major arcana, and then 10 is when you graduate from the material world in the major arcana, which is a whole nother video. But the 1 through 10 is a story of ace, 2, 3, 4, and each of those numbers is projected onto the energy of the suit. I'll read you my notes that I have. And you can write them down because you take notes, because you love to study and you're super smart and big brain, and you're not going to lose the sacred art of magical note taking at the hands of tech oligarchs. Okay? You're going to preserve it with your actions. In this moment, with the cutest notebook you can find, or the closest notebook to you at this time. An ace is a gift from heaven, which is an ultimate soul power, something that you don't have to work for. A 2 is balance and duality. It's a push and pull, and it's supportive. And it can also represent this or that thinking. 3 is communion and perspective. It's often about stepping out of solitude and into collaboration, leaving a system of duality and realizing that there's something outside of duality for you. 4 is stability and union, which is a lot about counting on others, is a good succinct way to put that. 5 is about conflict and reconciliation. It's about the friction that we have as human beings and the benefits of friction. 6 is about love and sacrifice, how you see others, how others see you, codependency, interdependency, stuff like that. 7 is paranoia and hope. It is the illusions associated with both hoping for something and fearing something. 8 is infinite possibilities. The 8 card is the reality of choosing infinity, the reality of stepping into infinity, stuff like that. 9 is burdens and consequences, which is what happens when you're pursuing the suit, which would be the pentacles, the cups, the swords, and the wands, which we'll talk about what those mean in a second. But 9 is the burdens and consequences of pursuing that. And then 10 is the completion of the suit. Wish fulfillment. You got what you wanted out of the suit. Here is the result, for better or for worse, right? We're going to talk about face cards separately in a second. Let's talk about the suits. Pentacles are earth energy. They are things that are material, that you can touch with your hands, that you feel on your body, that you decorate your space with. Pentacles are your home, your garden, your flesh suit. Swords are your thoughts, how you think, how you learn, and how you speak. Swords are the process of brain to mouth and mouth to brain and reality to brain. That's why swords are sometimes scary. Cups are your emotions, your rhythms, your relationship to romanticism, the depths of the waters within you. And then wands are the actions you take, how you use your free will, erotic fire energy, the phallus, I'll just say. Because the cups are also the vulva. So let's just think about the suits as earth, wind, fire, water. As you build up your relationship with those 5 suits, which you can do through spell work. If you're trying to do spell work, then you can use dirt, candles, singing, and water in a chalice as a way of creating a relationship with the suits. That will help your tarot practice. Just a suggestion. And then as you form a relationship with the suits and you look at your life and you see what's kind of around for that, then the numbers start to come along. Like you're in a, business relationship, or you have this job, or you have this aspect of your inner world that you want to express, right? It's really important to live a full life. I'd say that first and foremost. Really try to do a lot of different things if you want to be a tarot reader, because your experiences get projected onto the cards and it makes you a better witch. It makes you a better psychic. It makes you a better interpreter when you have a well-rounded experience, and then also when you're listening to people. So talk to people, talk to strangers, have lots of really fulfilling conversations, particularly with older people about their life, so that you have a lot more experience to pull on. We actually do talk about that a little later. I'll shut that down now and we'll talk about the court cards. I'll say this. The face cards in some people's practice is specifically representing other people. I think that's a really limiting way to read the tarot, so I don't recommend it. That's the end of that. Now, the court cards have their own sequential energy. The king is mastering something through your actions. The queen is mastering something through your intuition and creativity. The knight is desiring to master something, but doing it recklessly and with passion. And the page is considering mastering something, but with a bit of naive energy. The page is a messenger, so they're very beginner's mind. And as we spoke about before, I consider the ace at the beginning. It can go either way because after the king also comes the ace energy, I believe, of the following suit. Some other readers read it as the same suit where you have completed, right? So once you're at a 10 of pentacles, then you start getting into the face cards of pentacles. And after you've mastered it, then boom, you have the gift of the ace that you can take anywhere in your life. Like you leveled up in a video game and now you have this armor the whole time. So let's just go through a few examples and then we are done. And we are well on our way to finish within 20 minutes. We'll talk about the 3. This is the number that is about communion, perspective, collaboration, leaving duality and entering relationship. 3 of Pentacles is in the earth element, which is the pentacle suit, which means a material collaboration, like with your coworkers, like starting a creative project with people. Look up the meaning in your book. You can see that is in line with what the interpretation is in reality. But knowing that pentacles are the material realm and 3 is collaboration, you don't need the meaning in the book. You can feel it out with the querent. 3 of Cups. Cups is our emotional world. It is our depth. It is our water. And in 3, we're talking about celebrating communion, being with people that nourish us emotionally. The Wands, 3 of Wands. This is when we really leave the duality of the 2 of Wands. And this is why sequential reading is so valuable, is because we were at the 2 where we were making a map. Now we're at the 3 where we're planning to leave land. And this 3 is all about the anxieties that come up when we consider doing that. 3 of Swords is about leaving a relationship or a relationship leaving you. So the duality. When you move into 3, it's that heart with 3 swords through it. You realize that duality is not sustainable. It takes more than 2 people to live a full life. The relationship may have been codependent or toxic, and now you're free. Or it's heartbreaking. I'm sorry, or congratulations. And then we'll do the same with the face cards. We have the Knight of Pentacles, which he has the money, he has the house, he has the body, but he's running forward because he needs more. You know, the accumulation of that is really fueling him. He's reckless. He's excited. Page of Cups, as we talked about earlier, Page of Cups is the love letter because Page is about messengers and Cups is about the water element, which can be romance, can also be sadness. That's why Page of Cups is kind of a fuckboy. And Page of Cups also is not to be trusted because he's so new at the water. And then we have the Queen of Swords. I apologize. The Queen of Swords is this has this intuition about the swords, which is how you speak, how you think, and how you learn. The upside is that a Queen of Swords is very smart. The downside is that the Queen of Swords says whatever needs to be said, and not everybody likes it. So those are just a couple examples for you. And then after you kind of have the numerology and the suits down, then you get to invite synchronicity in. And synchronicity is where we get all of these experiences with other modalities that are not just the tarot, so that we can have coincidences popping up in our experience. Let me know if you have any questions.